Okay, we are here at the Seattle Regionals where Connor has just won his lad mat, playing in an Edison side event, and he played Kristyasworn?
Kristyasworn.
Cool, dude. How was your overall experience, man?
Great deck. I've been playing with it for a good while. I feel like I got the ratios just right where I wanted. Matches went great today.
Cool. And what did you play against?
It was kind of an interesting tournament today. So I played 2 mirror matches.
Okay.
And then I played against Blackwing for the
Like
final.
both Kristyasworn?
Both Kristyasworn.
Damn.
Yeah. Which I found, again, interesting. I wasn't entirely side deck prepared for it, but I played it enough and it worked out pretty good. So.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Let's see what the deck profile.
All right. So I'll start off with the fairy package here. So of course you got your standard triple Krystia, win condition of the deck. Really, I find this deck is more of a Krystia deck than a Judgment Dragon deck.
Yep.
So there's by drawing 3, you're of course more likely to see it. Beckoning Lights, you could just dump Kristias with like Lumina or Beckoning Lights. And,
Yep.
Yeah. So you got to play the 3. We can play hand traps in this deck,
yes,
you know,
sir.
in 2010, so Herald is awesome. They gates cards, load your graveyard with fairies, it's a tuner. Gotta play the trips.
Did you synchro with this deck?
I did actually synchro with a Herald, and then that gave me the 4th fairy in one game. So,
okay, yeah.
It's very versatile.
Yeah.
Double Honest, staple.
Yep. Ooh, blinged out, yeah.
Yeah, got the ghosts. 2 this guy, I think 2's the right number. Tried 3, too clunky. Tried 1, too random. So I think 2 is the right call for an extender that needs like some graveyard setup. You can of course beckoning into it. It's again, you can synchro with it. It can just be a big body.
That card's pretty nice, being level 6.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you can use this with a Herald or Plague to make a level 8.
Yeah.
Again, light, fairy, compatible with Honest, etc. Could just be like a beater just to like, you know, drop on the board and try and go for game.
And did its attack effect come into play?
Not really.
Yeah.
I mean, it can in some situations, but you know, generally, no.
Gotcha.
All right, so that's the fairy part of the deck. So I'll get to the Lightsworn part now. I would say I like this deck a lot more than like the Krystia, just like pure fairy deck.
Yeah.
I think the Lightsworns add a lot of utility to the deck, a lot of speed, like with cards like Solar Recharge, just being like a card to go through your deck, draw cards. You have your bombs with JD, so that's one of the reasons I played this over fairy. So with the Lightsworn part, you got your 2 judgments. Triple Raikou, it's like your most reliable turn 1 play. It's your most reliable miller.
Yes,
gets
sir.
rid of back row, gets rid of like, you know, things like Shura that would summon from the deck. You got to play 3.
Yeah.
Decided triple Lila. Some lists play 2, some play 3. I like 3. In that, not only is it just like an all-around like 1700 attack, honest target, mills 3. It's nice to have Lilas in my hand for when I need to. Like, let's say early game, I need to just it's my monster, right? But by having more in my deck that I can more reliably see, I always got that like MST like breaker like card in my hand to more safely make a big push with like Krystia or Judgment or a Synchro. So I feel 3 is the best number.
And that card just eats like bottomlesses, right? Like it baits out bottomlesses.
It can, yeah, it eats bottom. Ran double Celestia. I think 2 again is kind of the right number. I've tried 3, too bricky. I'm not playing like the Glorious Illusion stuff to make it more live anyway. It does have the fairy name, or it's fairy typing, which is what makes it still a good card to play in a deck with that Glorious Illusion.
For sure.
It's a name. Double Monarch effects can be pretty insane. So like 2. And these are all the singletons. So Lumina, limited, only allowed to play 1.
Yeah.
Shire, it's a fairy Lightsworn, that's what it's for. Aaron, decent effect to spin things like Treeborn Frog or set Bayous. Maybe like a Hamster, its effect will still go off, but you know, it gets that body at least off the board.
Yeah.
So you know,
did you resolve it?
Yeah, a few times.
Nice.
Yeah, Aaron's good. Loved Arcus.
Yeah.
So I needed an 8th name. I found playing 7 names was a bit too. It made JD just a little too inconsistent. So I wanted the 8th name. I thought about 1 Wolf. I don't ever want to play with Wolf again. So I'm like, you know what? I'm siding Arcus anyway. Let's just throw it in the main deck. Free up 1 spot in my side deck. And Arcus is great against opposing Raikous. Protecting Arcus with like Honest in your hand is very difficult to get around.
Yeah.
Arcus is also great like against, you know, for game 2 and 3 against like stuff like DD Crow if it's on the field. Gets around Caius.
Yeah, because this is any Lightsworn. It's not even
any Lightsworns
right?
anywhere cannot be targeted by effect.
Yeah.
So if it's on the field, they cannot DD Crow the graveyard. So
that's pretty nice.
Like Arcus. Jane is really good. I am considering a second. I don't know yet. Jane is nice to get over things like Shura. If you're up against like some stun deck like Thunder King, even Sirocco, Jane beats over. If you're playing against
Hero Beat too, right?
Hero Beat against Alias, yeah. It's just it's a good card, and you know what? If Jane gets answered, okay, guess what ate the bottomless? Jane did not eat the bottomless. Kristya, right?
Yeah.
So I'm liking Jane a lot. I think 1 is still fine, but it's a card I'm considering, depending on like how the format shapes.
Freeze play.
So that's the lights. That's the Lightsworn part of the deck. So the other cards are Double Hamster. Again, I think 2 is the right number. I don't want to see multiples, but like 1 is too random. It's one of the best openers, but like it's only amazing going first. So I think 2 is the right call to fit in everything else I want to play with. So
Do you ever side it out?
I do when I'm going second.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even if you haven't seen like a knock yet, you would like proactively side it out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it depends. I mean, if I'm playing against something more slow, then it's still fine in the main deck, or even against Blackwing, like it's still okay. It's if I'm playing against something that's a bit faster, like AZ, etc., or like then I don't think this card's great going second.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
yeah. Card Trooper, staple, mills 3, draws a card, you play it. Plague Tuner, once it's in your graveyard, your entire extra deck's like in your hand. So I love.
Yeah, dude. I've played against you a couple times, and a lot of the games, Plague has put it in work, dude.
Oh yeah.
Making Goyo.
It's not the best draw, but you can still use it with like a Soul of Purity and Light.
Yeah.
Pitch for Lumina. I don't play a lot of like the other dead cards like Wolf of Necrogard now, so I can afford 1.
And Beckoning too, right? You can double.
And Beckoning,
yeah.
yep. So once Plague is in the graveyard, again, it unlocks the extra deck. Like it's like always in my hand. So like Plague. Chorus, it's Chorus.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just Chorus.
Good card.
So that's the monsters. Spells, you got your standard solar recharges and Charge the Light Brigade for your Lightsworn spells. Just the best cards in the deck.
Staples, yeah.
Gold Sarks, I love Gold Sark. I think an Edison is a slow enough format where this card reads search your deck for a card. So if my hand's kind of slow, I grab Charge. If my hand is relatively quick, then I might grab Judgment Dragon. Occasionally Kristya. I find that I would rather get JD in my hand because I'll typically still see into a Kristya with like the way my deck's playing and a Beckoning. So.
And if you open 2, what are you usually searching with that?
If I open up 2, then I'm probably gonna grab Charge JD. If I draw a lot of Lightsworns in my opening hand, then I'll grab Solar Recharge.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I typically do with this. Beckoning, play double. I don't like Monster Reincarnation as much because this has a lot more. Basically, if you resolve this with a loaded graveyard, you're going for game. Where Reincarnation may not give you what you need.
And this lets you manipulate the grave a lot better, right?
Manipulate the grave a whole lot better. Again, the format's slow enough where I don't need to play Monster Reincarnation. So I'm a fan of Beckoning for sure. Call the Haunted, great card because your graveyard.
Win condition.
Yeah, it's a great card. You can call the Haunted Kristya, which is nuts.
Chain call,
if they MST it, you can call the Haunted, get your card trooper back, draw 1. You can get Lumina back to extend your plays. All around, just fantastic card for the deck. And I do play the Dust Shoot because Dust Shoot is an FTK. So
yeah, fair.
That's my main deck. Side deck. So I was siding 2 Consecrateds. This is like for Blackwing, etc.
Yeah, makes sense.
2 Cyber Dragons. I mean, they're okay. Like they're not the best.
Aside from Machina, like when are you putting this in?
Pretty much Machina. It's okay against something like Gladiator Beast if I'm going second.
Yeah.
It's not the worst card against Blackwing. I usually don't have the room decided though.
Usually put okay. Yeah.
I might replace these with Under King. I don't know. But for right now, it's just kind of like it's not even bad against the mirror because like you can just eat up like the Raikou and still have like your Miller.
Yeah.
So it's okay. 2 Massacre Restrict for Frog. Good card. I mean, the matchup's already really good, well in your favor. It's just like extra, like I'm sealing the deal.
Dude,
I don't
this
care.
is like
It's like I'm just gonna seal the deal
already
there.
Slaps frogs around.
I play 3 Imperial Iron Wall.
Okay.
This card it serves a couple different purposes. It can turn off their side against you if they're siding things like DD Crow and Soul Release. So it's one of those like I side it in if it will do work against their deck anyway. So like if this card can stop things like Vayu, while on top of that turning off DD Crow Soul Release, great card.
Right.
If it doesn't, I will typically wait for this to side in this card until I see those kinds of cards to make it to game 3.
For sure.
Once I know they're siding and banishing, then I'll put this card in.
You can also stop Miracle with this and Caius.
You
right?
can, yep.
Like,
So it's
would
good
you ever
against...
put this in against like Miracle variants?
Oh yeah. I just didn't play against it, but that's also what it's for. Yeah.
Cool.
So it's like it serves the double purposes. Yeah.
Okay.
But against something that like isn't really banishing, then like it could be dead if I don't know they're siding in Soul Release. That's the card I care more about. Crow.
Yeah. So you didn't play it today though.
No, I didn't. Well, I mean, I did side it against like Blackwing. I just didn't draw it.
Yeah.
So Singletons, Torrential, it's just a nice defensive card. to put in when against like more aggressive decks like Blackwing. So
Yeah.
I do play the one torrential. This is all back row hate. So I play singletons of Heavy, Junade, Breaker, MST, and Dust.
Heavy not main is really interesting. Can you say more about that?
Because Lightsworn's a destruction deck.
Yeah.
You have Raikou, you have Lila, you got Celestia, like the whole archetype's based on destroying cards. I don't think there's not a whole lot of super heavy back row decks where I need to main this card.
You feel comfortable with what you did?
I feel comfortable siding it. Also, there's like a little bit of mind game with it, where because it's not in my deck, it will never be milled.
Yeah.
And then my opponent doesn't know,
Yeah,
so they still have to respect Heavy Storm, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So then I'll side it in against those kinds. I usually will always side this card in because, you know, Light Mirror is a card, etc. So, Trunade, again, is another just like OTK card along with Heavy. Breaker is for Light Mirror. Like I'll usually take out like a third Lila, put in the Breaker, as it can pop Light Mirror, and they serve similar purposes. And there's just back row hate.
I gotcha.
Yep, that's the
Nice.
side. I wouldn't change anything really, except for maybe the Cyber Dragon's out for Thunder King, and I think 2 Jane doesn't sound awful, but that's really about it.
Yeah, but Cyber Dragon is one of those cards where, like, as soon as you take it out and you play against Machine,
Yep. But I mean, the deck still does okay against Machine, though. That's kind of the thing.
sure, for
It's just like, you know, one of those like just FTK cards that like it's like this in my side deck is what's keeping that deck away.
Yeah.
Extra deck, you know, this is not a synchro deck. I mean, it just goes into things occasionally, and I'm not gonna really explain a whole lot. So
Sure.
I just kind of play it. It's pretty standard. Armory Arm, Android, Catastor, Tempest Magician, because Lila
that's
can
not
make it.
standard. Okay, yeah.
So yeah, Lila Plague or Lila Herald. It could,
Sure.
you know, use the burn to go for game.
Sure.
This is like mostly what you make like 90% of the time. You can use the Brionica to dump fairies to summon Krystia.
Yes.
Brionica is nutter butters in this deck.
Yes, in most decks, yeah.
Goyo, oh, especially in this deck.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of decks, but like this deck would like to dump the fairies or Lightsworn
So
names.
helpful, yeah.
Goyo, just great. Black Rose, Stardust, Thought Ruler, Light and Dragons. So
Okay.
I play the Avenging Knight. So these are both cards that require light non-tuners. So you can use Soul of Purity and Light to make these cards. Light End is a card that reduces their monster's attack by like 1,500. He loses yours by 500. So it's when it's on attack declaration too. So it could like in certain weird situations like just be that extra damage push you needed per game.
Yeah.
Like this can do a lot more damage than even something like Colossal Fighter does.
Yeah.
Just because of the number. And
It's
this
kind of like
card,
an Element of Hero, like Gaia kind of effect.
kind of like a Gaia, yeah. And it's, those kind of situations can happen. There are low life points, and just it's the amount of damage you need to win.
Yeah.
This card's also like in a similar vein. It puts things in defense mode, like a econ effect that puts things in defense, and then it pierces.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just Soul of Purity Light, like versatility cards that like only this deck can really run. And then Colossal Fighter, Red Dragon Archfiend, Mistworm, and Chimera Tech.
Nice. And last question for you. What was the MVP for today?
MVP cards today that just did a lot of work in my matches. I would say Arcus and Jane. You know, they did work in like my matchups, and you know what? These are I consider to be some of the weaker cards of the deck. So if my weaker cards are like putting in work, then I know this deck is feeling like in a good spot right now.
True. Yeah.
Other than that, of course, the triple Lila being able to answer like the 1 or 2 back rows that are on the field is, and having access to it consistently is great. And yeah, again, this is like a Krystia deck, so you know Krystia is like your main win condition.
And did anything underperform?
I really don't think I would change a card in here. I'm very happy with the build.
Nice. All right. Congrats on the mat. Congrats on the win.
Yeah, thank you.